What Zac just said was people put so much pressure on themselves to make the perfect post. There is no perfect post. Well, hey everybody, this is BJ.
And I'm Zac. How's it going?
And this is episode, I think, 2.07, I think, is where I'm kind of at. I think we've done this about 4 or 5 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that.
So I'm a little slow on the trigger on getting some of these put out, but they're coming, I promise.
Yeah, that's
I promise. But they're going to be in sequential order because who knows what we'll talk about this time versus last time. But they're coming.
For sure.
And very little editing. In fact, we actually post the entire episode up on YouTube. So if you go follow BJMurphy360 on YouTube, then I should have like a little ding here. But then I got to remember I got to edit it and put a ding here.
I know. I'm with you on that. I hear you.
But the whole podcast is up there. But we do take little bits and pieces and put them on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, that sort of thing. So a lot of fun things happening. Zac, one thing that Leith and I were in the office this week, and we were going, anytime something comes up that we go, oh my gosh, we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
That we just need to write it down. And so we did that a couple times this week. And one thing I'd like to talk to you about, I haven't mentioned this to you at all, I don't believe, and that is recently, unfortunately, a small business here in our community, so a small business that I've done business with, they went out of business. And or at least they did a drastic modification of their hours.
Gotcha.
Right? And what was interesting about it was they went to Facebook to tell everybody, hey, we're severely modifying our hours. And I was like, Dag, I really hate that. And just being a little curious, I clicked on it and I just kind of scrolled. It was like a month before the last post, and then a month before then, and then 2 or 3 months by, and 4 or 5 months by, and then another month. And I went,
yeah,
they're barely posting once a month, but they want to use social media to tell everybody they're closing, but they don't want to use social media to tell everybody they're open.
Yeah. Right? I mean, that's the best. If you're like, hey, I think we need to have we're closing down clearance sale, and you're thinking of places to advertise that, what were you doing? Were you one of those people that was like, I just don't have time to be posting on social media every day? Because apparently you did.
Right.
Like, apparently you had time.
Because business would have been better.
Well, yeah, I mean, if
you would have been more busy with business,
yeah,
and had less time. But I have found that even when I'm really, really busy, that is the best time to post. I see you doing that a lot more than me, and I think I post a lot, and the truth is I really don't. I don't post nearly as much as I probably should.
Right.
But I really hated to see a small business understand that social media is so powerful that you can let your customers know that you're going to severely modify your hours or even going out of business. Yet you don't really understand that same value when you are actually open for business and you want people to walk through and spend their money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so much. They put so much pressure on like the immediate impact of using the social media, and I think that's what discourages a lot of people from like getting into it and staying into it. Is they're generally just terrified to get into it because they put so much pressure on making the post. But then,
right,
like when they're behind the 8 ball, they're like they have no choice but to make the post, and it's interesting.
That's a good point. What Zac just said was people put so much pressure on themselves to make the perfect post. There is no perfect post.
No.
The idea that you can go viral is true. It can happen with a video, with a funny meme, with something silly. But the reality is most posts are not going to do that. No. And so people are so consumed with trying to put the perfect makeup on, so to speak, for the business that they forget to just tell the story of the business.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating to watch, but that's part of the reason why we're doing the podcast, part of the reason why we're out in the market, that I'd rather you sacrifice a little quality to have a lot of other content out there.
Oh, absolutely. Like, so if I was to actually, like, we'll just go into my personal model because it's what I know. If I was to actually edit every video I posted, I would post probably a third of the videos that I post.
I believe it.
Because I mean, like, so this is like a funny thing. We're recording this podcast and we haven't pushed out the last podcast.
That's right.
If I ever did that, I would never ever, that other one would never make it. Like I would be toast.
I get
and
it.
So yeah, it's interesting.
So that was a jab at me. He's like, hey, you got
it was very kind.
We need to freeze frame that.
Yeah.
But the reality is for me, and I've said this, I've been very open about it, is I'm trying to figure out our system. And I mean, this is all new, and it's a lot of content. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a blast doing this.
Sure.
And so for us, I'm trying to figure out what that system is. And I've actually written out the system, and Aletha, who was just listening to the sound a while ago, make sure everything was working good. That we're actually using a mixture of me, her, some virtual assistants to actually do this model of getting content out, so that we can chop it up in so many different places and put it in different formats, whether that's a blog or short clips with captions or the long form on YouTube or whatever we end up doing with it.
Right.
But the reality is that's for this show, right? So it's for me, that's a little bit different. What you're doing is just daily, on the moment. Okay, hey everybody, here's Zach. Ready? Happy Friday.
Yep.
Right?
Pretty much.
That's it. And then you just kind of rock on whatever's happened, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of it, and I see a lot of this on LinkedIn because it's a business platform, especially. So people think like, oh, like I got to be perfect on Facebook, so I really better be perfect on the business side, and I better make sure that I better check and make sure my tie is straight for everything because I have to be perfect. And no, you don't. Like, you actually get a little bit more out of not being perfect. Like, there's more value in not being perfect because I just watched perfect people for 12 years going through school, standing in front of the class telling me, I want to see imperfect, okay?
Right.
Like, that's where the value is, and that's where you see people learning. So this was an interesting thing this week. I started doing, you made me get one of these Mevo cameras.
Right.
And then
I twisted his arm. Y'all heard that, right?
Yeah, it was painful. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and then I bought it. And then I woke up the next morning and was like, I think I should get the Mevo camera, and I had already ordered it. Sidebar. But anyway, I started live stream. So we talked last Friday, I think, or last Saturday about how I don't have a good Facebook presence at all. And so I think that was Saturday at 10 in the morning. And so Saturday,
you got better memory than I do.
Saturday at 4 in the afternoon, I was live streaming on a Facebook page. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I mean, like, so I started live streaming. I just put like our builds of our machine running. It was like 17 hours long. I just put it on the live stream. It's the most unprofessional, unedited. I'm not even putting a graphic over it. It's basically a security camera just running. I put it up there. Well, some other people saw that I was doing that also in the same industry. So the next couple days later, I get tagged in a bunch of posts from another person. And he's like, hey, check it out. We've got live streaming of our printer too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so they're tagging me in that. And so then I get to touch on all those. And it's like,
yep.
It's great.
Look, I've heard this saying before. It's okay to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat. I know that's a little cheesy, but the idea is we're taught in school not to look on someone else's paper, right?
Right.
But in business, the reality is, and certainly if you got a trade secret and you're patented, I 100% agree with that.
Sure.
But in terms of most of the processes and things that happen, if you're doing something, even in a completely different industry, and I go, hey, I like that. I think that's good. That gets people's attention. It might lead to more sales. Guess what? I want to try to figure out how to apply to my business. Your strategy.
Yep.
And I think we forget that because as a society, as a culture, we're not really taught that. It is, at least in school, it's not. It's kind of frowned upon. But in business, the reality is we are moving so fast because of these things and these things and these things and that thing. We're moving so fast that even your competitors are watching you and going the next day and copying it.
Yeah, we talked about that last night, I think. We were like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like now everyone's doing video, and now everybody's got a person in their thing that's trying to do the selfie. And it's cool. Like, I love that. It's fantastic. Good to see it. It raises the water level. I want more videos that are like my industry so that I want my industry to be like the highest trending industry on LinkedIn. That would be cool, right? Then we all win. So, I mean, it's cool. It's fun to watch. But you still see like where they try to do social media real hard, and they'll put out like that post where they're like, "Happy Halloween."
Right.
If you need a quote, click this link though, and it's like, okay, we get it. We know you're a for-profit business. Got it.
Right.
Can we get a Happy Halloween without a
right? Yeah. How about just tell me Happy Halloween?
Happy Halloween.
Yep. And let me appreciate that for a moment.
Yeah, you know what I do. I mean, like, I don't need to tell you, like, hit me for a quote. I know.
Right.
You've made it known over the last several posts that you're selling something. We're aware.
I connected with a guy on LinkedIn this past week. I've been really but I mean, the reverse is happening for us. I'm getting more into LinkedIn, and I'm trying to get you more into Facebook. And the reality is we're both building our businesses and our platforms and everything else based on that. So it's kind of fun to watch because I know a lot about how Facebook works, and you know a lot about LinkedIn. It's been really neat to kind of feed off that energy. But I connected with somebody this past week, and the truth is we might have some mutual connections, but I really don't know this guy, right?
Sure.
But and that's okay. I mean, I want to connect with people who are like-minded, who are trying to grow professionally, and I think that's really cool. I try to connect with a lot of students because I understand that I'm trying to connect with them because they're also going to try to connect with me. So I'd rather go ahead and start those relationships.
Yep.
But some guy connected with me, and let me see if I can find this thing real quick. But it was, we've talked a lot about when you're developing relationships with people. You got to first ask. Oh, here he goes. Oh no, that was a different guy. Let's see. Let's see. Was it this John dude? He was like, "Hey, thanks for connecting, BJ. I appreciate it. While most seem to talk about themselves, I believe in listening to others and leave the room to actually engage in a mutual beneficial conversation. With that said, when you get a friend, tell me about you. I like that, okay? To break the ice about me, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm a financial advisor, 26 years experience, blah, blah, blah. It's third paragraph. I this and I that and I this. Thank you for following. Hey, and I'm an independent wealth advisor. Here's my address. Here's my phone number. Here's my website." And I'm like, man, you haven't even said hello to me, and you're like, if I can ever help you, let me know.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, we got to get to first base first before you take me to third.
Will you like touch my hand awkwardly at the movies first before you're trying to lean over and kiss me? Like, it's crazy
because people forget that even though this is a phone, this is a device, this is social media, that we're still human beings and we require a little bit of a relationship before you go into the "hey, buy this for me" pitch.
Which is even like now there's still people that are in person that are that aggressive too. They're like, "Hey, how's it going? I've got this great thing. Let me give you a brochure here." And you're like, "Holy smokes! Right. What was your name again? I didn't even say your name 3 times in my head." And I'm like,
"That's right."
Hey, and this guy sells this. Holy Nikes!
Hey, you have that business card I gave you?
Which one?
Right? I don't think I gave you one. We set up this entire podcast idea through Instagramming and LinkedIn messages.
Yeah, still don't have each other's cell phone numbers.
And that's right. And but we got to fix that. But then he finally got on Facebook and actually let's talk about something real quick about Facebook.
Yeah.
That
this is good.
Years ago, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was having this challenge because I was in public office, and my personal friends capped out at 5,000, and that's the way Facebook works. The personal profiles capped at 5.
Sidebar, quality there. I did not know that you got capped at 5,000 friends on Facebook.
Right. And then you could also have people that follow you, and at that point, I had like 2,500 people. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything. It was just I'd been doing it for almost a decade, close to it. And I was in a public office. A lot of people either want to connect with me or I needed to connect with them for whatever reason. It was happening a lot. But I got to the point where I was like, it's so frustrating to be capped. And so Facebook was more or less forcing me, for good or bad, indifferent, to create a business or fan page, right? I've never liked the idea of BJ having fans, right? But I had to create a business page. And through that process, I had to let people know, hey, I've created this business page so I can connect with more people, and I'm going to call back this 5,000 friends to people who actually probably really, truly know, and cut off those 2,500 followers. So I went through like a month-long process of telling people on my personal profile, hey, you need to come join me over here because I'm cutting the 2,500 followers off. I'm cutting y'all off. I'm cutting you off.
You're on the list. You're going.
Because I couldn't see who they were. I didn't know. And I didn't have a relationship with them. And so eventually I pulled the plug on that and started posting a lot of content to my BJMurphy360, what I call it now, BJMurphy360, the fan page, right? I really do, because
I love it.
I've got a healthy ego, but not that big a one, right? And so anyway, but when I was talking to you about your personal Facebook page, are you using it to show pictures of your kids, or are you using it to do business or to establish a brand? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so like I'm not on Facebook to hang out with you at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, I am, like, my style of the way I'm using it is very relaxed, but
right.
I'm not friending anyone on Facebook so I can like go play cornhole with them on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, like I knew nothing about this. I'm completely Facebook dumb. I mean, I stayed away from it and totally missed that wave. But yeah, when you were like, hey, why are you doing a personal page? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I literally had no idea why. I mean, because it was the one that was already set up.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I had set up a business account for Additive America, and we were kind of doing some things on that. And I was kind of realizing, like, hey, when I post a video on my personal, I don't get to see. There's no tracking. There's nothing, and I'm like,
very few metrics.
But yeah, I mean, I hadn't even put 2 and 2 together yet that was why until you said that at lunch yesterday. I was like,
so for Zac, I recommended that, given that he's in a position where he's using his LinkedIn profile to share business ideas and concepts and thoughts, that on Facebook he probably should consider using it in a very similar manner.
Yep.
And that is create a business page, use his personal for his wife and kids, and I know you might share some of the spouse and kids stuff. It just won't be nearly as much because it's a little bit more intentional to have your business profile. But the big thing with the business profile is that he would be able, and you would be able, to see more of the metrics. If you got a video that's really cool, good, that might, at least in your local market, get some traction, you might go, well, I'll put $50 or $100 or $500 behind this video or this piece of content so that I can share it with more people who typically aren't in my network that I still want to possibly reach. And so it makes a lot of sense for you to have that business page on Facebook so that you can do exactly that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool. And I've done nothing in terms of ads on there yet. I'm excited to learn a lot about that. I've done like YouTube ads.
Have you really? Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh.
I've never done a YouTube ad. I've done a lot of Facebook. I've dabbled in a lot of Google ads.
Sure.
It's been a long time since I did a LinkedIn ad, but I was trying to recruit at that point. So it's been a long time, but I'm well versed in Facebook ads. But tell me about your experience with YouTube.
Like with YouTube ads, so I've done like Google, like pay per click type things with keywords and all that stuff, and that's cool. But you gotta get the person that's searching the terms, and then they gotta be in one of the states you selected, and then your budget's gone pretty quickly. I think this is going to be some good stuff right here.
All right.
Industry-specific stuff, industry-specific words for what I do, very expensive because there's not a whole lot of words that are direct like that. And there's not a lot of players. Well, there's a lot of players for it, but not a lot of people searching those terms. So the cost per click is pretty high. Plus, you got a lot of, it's a tech thing, so you got a lot of deep pockets because a lot of people that run these companies are just really good at finding people to give them money, and so they're just burning cash,
right?
And so they can just kill me because I'm trying to make a profit. They're trying to just like sell to the next round of investors.
On your average spend on YouTube, what have you done?
Oh man, I think I put like $80, 80, maybe even 50 on a video, 4,600 views. Right. Directed.
It was a good test, and that's the way I look at it. I do a lot of 20 here, 50 here, just to kind of test.
Yeah.
And if it goes really well, then I'll put in 100, 500, or even more, depending on if it's for me or for a client as well, because we do a lot of boosting and targeting for some of our clients. But sometimes I will let something go organic for a while, give it 24, 48, 72 hours. Kind of get a lay. Hey, is this piece of content going to go? And if I get that sense, and you could tell by the metrics, some of it is gut. I'll be honest. Yeah. And some of it is watching some of the metrics and go, that's it.
So when you're posting those, are you paying attention to when you're posting that video? Like what time frame of the day?
I honestly do not care because. Gotcha. And I've changed my mind on that over the past 2 or 3 years. I used to be, okay, it had to be Wednesday at between 1 and 3 p.m.
Right.
And Friday between 10 and 12.
Yeah.
And it's like, what I have found, and I might be wrong with this, but what I have found, that it doesn't necessarily matter what time you post something as much as the quality of the content that you're actually posting. Mm-hmm. I think the quality, the quantity of the number that you do in a day and the quality of the post has a lot more to do with the how well it's engaged with. Mm-hmm. So one thing that makes a video go viral based on the summit we went to is placing two opposite things in the same shot, right? Like pretty lawyer on a toilet. Mm-hmm. Just what?
That doesn't go.
Right.
Yeah.
But it caught people's attention.
Yep.
And so sometimes you can over create. You can do too much to try to capture that magic. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, I saw you post a video a day or two ago on LinkedIn. Didn't seem like much on a glance, but had 1,200 views. Like that.
Yep.
I mean, I was like, those small little things add up to getting people's attention. So more importantly, because I follow Zac and some of the people in your industry that I might be friends with, whatnot, my LinkedIn feed is full of 3D industrial printing, and I'm not even in the business.
Nope.
Right? I know. Y'all got my attention.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yep.
So it's in my feed. And I think that's a big part of how the algorithms work is they'll continue to show stuff that you've already shown interest in.
Yeah, definitely. Something that I was actually talking with Brent this morning about this, because we post tons of videos, and we're definitely noticing a pullback on organic reach of videos on LinkedIn. And we notice, like, the more we post, it's like they adjust their algorithm to our frequency of posting. Mm-hmm. And then it's like we got to like step it up another little level, like add another one in a day, and then we break through that wall. It's like they adjust. It's like you're playing baseball, man, and the pitcher adjusts to you, and then you got to like change something again. It's very interesting.
And I will say this about algorithms, because people have a lot of questions about what's the best time of day to post, to what's the Facebook or the Facebook algorithm is changing this week. Whoa, the sky is falling, right? And I'm going, as long as you stay true to your core principles of your business, understanding what's the changes in the market, then who cares what Facebook does or LinkedIn does or Google does? Mm-hmm. They're in business to get people's attention and to make a profit. Yeah. And you've got to figure out how to adapt and not get so caught up in all the nuances of how their algorithm really works. Post good content a lot of times. I promise you'll have some breakthrough moments there.
My favorite thing in the world is when they change the algorithm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, because you know what? I post multiple times a day, and you post once a week. Right. So how many weeks is it going to take you to figure out, A, that it changed, right? B, how are you going to combat the change? I'm there in day 3. You're 3 weeks down the road before you figured out it's even changed. I'm already like, oh, cool. Written words and this many number of hashtags in my post.
Yeah, I see a lot of people making this mistake, and it's basically a paralysis by analysis. And that is, yes, they're so busy trying to read up on all the stuff that they forget that all that time they were reading up all the stuff, we've been over here posting a bunch of stuff.
Trying,
right?
Yeah, failing.
Testing, right? Spending $50 on a boost or $1,000 or whatever, and testing and trying and playing while also listening. Understanding what's happening.
Read the comments. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it is important.
Messaging people that like stuff and saying thank you for liking my stuff. I've noticed you've liked a lot of my content in the last week or so. I really appreciate that. Like, thank you. How many times have you ever gotten a message from someone that's like, thanks for liking my stuff?
I never.
Never.
It's kind of like, I don't know, these things we used to get in the mail called thank you cards.
What is that?
Right. Before I forget, I want to make sure that if you're listening to this podcast or watching also on YouTube or whatnot, be sure to define our social media group, a Facebook group. It's called Social Media Masterminds. There's not a lot of people in there. You have to answer 3 questions to even get in. And I did that on purpose because I don't want just anybody to join this particular group, because it's designed so that we can have some of these kind of conversations that we're having in this format that we can have and this is on social media. Yep. So look up Social Media Masterminds Facebook group. We're even going to have a meetup. I know some people watching, listening to this may not be from here, and that's okay. But for those in the greater Kinston, Eastern North Carolina area, we're actually going to have a social media an SM3 meetup, kind of a follow-up to our social media summit, the SM3 Summit. We're going to do that on Thursday, November 21st at the Big Game Brewer, in the same place we had that Friday night social that they had
right
the
on.
cornhole boards, and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to do that meetup. That's going to be like 5:30 to 7ish, kind of whenever. Hopefully they'll have
Get home at 11. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because we were out there for a while. But the whole idea is to kind of have some regular conversations about what's happening and just continue that networking piece of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be cool.
One last thing I want to mention, and I know you haven't had a lot of experience with it, but I just want to at least broach the subject so that we can start thinking about it more often. Look, how many people are full-time with Additive America?
1.
Okay. With Magellon Media News, total number of full-time people are 2, right?
Okay.
And we're putting out, I don't know, between 6 and 15 different news articles a day for news, and we're putting out a lot of social media content for not just us, but also our clients that we have. So we have a lot of part-time contracted help. Mm-hmm. But between our 2 businesses, 3 full-time people. Yeah. One thing I mentioned earlier that I wanted to start diving into a little bit more, maybe not necessarily in this podcast, but in future ones, and start thinking about it a little bit more and testing this, because I think this is what we need to do as small business owners, is the idea of using virtual assistants. I read a book by Timothy Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek. And the truth is, I could have read this one chapter and put the book down, because it was the one takeaway I got from it, and that is that the whole concept of the 4-hour work week seems a little far-fetched for me.
Sure.
But that was his goal, is to compress as much work in 4 hours and let others do the rest of the work for you, and while he traveled the world and stuff. Mm-hmm. Kind of cool idea, right? But the idea of using virtual assistants makes a lot of sense, especially in the day where you've got these devices and you can connect with freelancers from around the world, from graphic design to video work to editing, proofreading, to taking a video, transcribing it, or creating a blog out of it. And so you start thinking about all these different things that we tell people to do. I'm saying that that's what I'm doing. Part of the reason why it's a little slow on my system in the beginning is because I'm trying to get all these different pieces in the puzzle together. Right. And so I'm using some services to do that using virtual assistants. I have found that it's fairly inexpensive, that it ultimately will help us speed up the entire process.
Oh, yeah.
And it's more importantly, it's leverage my time. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk more about that later. I'm going to dive a little bit more into that as I have more experience. And the truth is, you'll probably notice it because we'll be putting out more content
faster
as we get this thing rocking.
Sweet.
So it's kind of cool. Any last thoughts?
Not really, man. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go to sleep. I was up all night.
Working till what time?
I left the shop at 7 this morning.
Right. And then and what time? What time do you get to sleep? 7:30ish.
Yeah, I think I slept from 7:30 to 9.
Okay, so it's time to go home.
So yeah, it's like 11 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, look, Zach, good having you on again.
As well.
I'm BJ.
I'm Zach.
All right, and this is another episode of
The Unnamed Podcast.
That's it. I guess that's what it's called.
I like that.
Y'all take care. Have a great day.
See you later.